Alright everyone, and welcome to Esportz Premier Series Assetto Corsa Competizione 2023 Qualifier 1, brought to you by Esportz.in as well as our partner, our Smart Lock screen partner, Glance. Joining me today is Kapil Bharat and I'm Simply YT.
Hey team, what's up, folks? Good day to continue racing.
Well, absolutely, we did see an amazing race yesterday unfold between Group 1 and today obviously we do have our Group 2 drivers who will be fighting it out at Zolder as well as Silverstone. Quite an interesting track selection there. Obviously, a lot of overtaking opportunities for our drivers as well as a lot of chances to produce some good racing action nonetheless.
Yeah, yesterday was some top-notch racing. It was an absolute joy to watch for all our viewers here. So we're expecting and hoping that the caliber of racing continues here tonight as well.
Absolutely, and yeah, quite a lot to look forward to considering the Group 1 that we saw was quite close in terms of pace to each other, and Group 2, by the looks of it, is even closer. So we might see even more racing for a lot more positions today, to be honest. Without wasting further time, let's quickly go ahead to the schedule. Right, as you can see on your screen, we're going to have 20-minute qualifying at Silverstone, followed by a super pole for only the top 5 drivers from the 20-minute qualifying, which will set the grid for the 30-minute race that we will have, obviously with the combination of the qualifying as well as the super pole, after which we're going to have a nice 30-minute race at Zolder, and yeah, quite an interesting format here as well.
Yeah, it definitely brings out the best end drivers because you've got that Super Bowl to really give you the spotlight, the nerves kicking in just so that you can get and eke out the maximum in terms of the lap time. Every little second counts. So this format has kind of yielded very good results yesterday, and we are expecting more of the same, like you mentioned, for an even tighter grid here for Group 2.
Absolutely. That 20-minute qualifying really brought out quite a lot of lap times from our drivers. Really quick lap times, really, quick compared to the actual esports drivers that, race in proper ACC esports. And yeah, we saw W Singh absolutely dominate the field. We'll have to see who dominates the field today.
Yeah, may not be a black and white story today, but I think that's something that all the fans watching will also enjoy. A tighter grid with more close wheel-to-wheel racing. That's something of a story that we witnessed yesterday from P2 to P5, especially in race 2 yesterday. So we're really hoping for more of the same, especially in Silverstone and Zolder. Well, I don't know about you, but I am itching to get started. I think our boys are more or less ready. Really close to the start of the session today. So when we get that green light, let's jump into the session. But until then, so simply tell me in terms of the tracks, Silverstone and Zolder. You've got not exactly the same style, and that's a good thing. Where do you think, or what kind of drivers do you think would suit the Silverstone kind of openness, and who do you think will benefit from the close, tight nature of Zolder?
In my opinion, Silverstone catches more of those drivers that like a good combination of medium to high speed corners with a few low speed corners here and there. A lot of dive bomb opportunities, although hopefully we don't see a lot of those because they are quite hard to pull off, especially in these GT3 cars. Zolder, on the other hand, I guess is a very technical circuit, so I guess people who are very good at technical circuits do prefer Zolder a lot more, especially with the elevation changes that we do have in Zolder, adding a lot of off-camber corners there. So those guys will absolutely love Zolder. And talking about the tracks, here we are on track with Samad Habib, who we're watching right now in qualifying at Silverstone. I'm not sure if he's on an out lap or his hot lap, but yeah, car number 420 in a very pink McLaren. Very good selection of cars here that we can see with the drivers.
Yeah, we've got we've got I think a full pack more or less. We've got nine folks in for today. Mr. Dipanshu is one to look out for, I think, in my opinion. He's been putting out a lot of laps during the practice sessions leading up to the session today. But hey, why don't you take an opportunity to kind of walk us through who's who and who's taking part in group today?
Absolutely. Obviously, as you said, we have Dipanshu in the McLaren, and obviously, quite one to look out for. A very experienced driver can show us a lot of potential here. Moving to P2 in the overall standings right now, we have Baldy, also a very, very good driver, especially brings his pace out in endurance races. And in my opinion, these races are going to be nothing short than an endurance race. So he's also one to look out for. Samad Habib. Is an ACC enjoyer, I would say. He loves driving on this Sabe, a very, very elegant driver, a very experienced driver. Most of these drivers, to be honest, are quite experienced from what I know. So, in terms of experience, around 3 or 4 years of experience on Samad Habib's side. So, he can definitely pull off something on his good day, but we'll have to see what he can do here against Dhruv Vipin Chandra. A new name for me personally, so I don't know what to expect about him, but from what we saw in our practice races earlier, he does seem to be kind of on the pace, challenging some, the drivers that we do have, the drivers that we do know. So he could be trouble for these people for sure. Moving on to Parth Patel, also in a McLaren, quite a few McLarens here. He is actually quite new to ACC, but his pickup on the game has been very, very strong. A very, very solid driver, and in my opinion, he could be dominating the midfield. Has potential for a top five finish here as well to go into the Super Bowl. So we'll have to see about him. Kiran, again a new name for me, so I can't comment really much about him. But he's in the Ferrari, the only Ferrari on the grid by the looks of it. So that's a nice change to see other than the McLarens and the Mercedes. Chandra Pashre, in my opinion, is kind of a fan favorite. He has potential to win the race, is very, very strong in one lap pace here at any track. Although he was saying that Silverstone might not really be his strong suit, but then again, quite a lot of people backing him up to win. So a lot of pressure on his shoulders, a lot of weight on his shoulders to make that happen here against obviously Dipanshu, Baldi, and Samat Habib. Yash Vikram, also known as Extreme, is very, very quick in other games that we have seen, such as F1, but in the ACC, he is quite a technical driver, so I believe Zolder might suit him more than Silverstone. But then again,
Hmm.
you can't really tell because right now these guys are under a lot of pressure, and obviously diamonds are made under pressure. So he could be one of those people that pulls out a massive performance from nowhere.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I think I know those drivers uh, just purely from that introduction as well. So, from from the looks of it, yeah. Who do you think has what it takes to take the top step? Me personally, just just being a little biased from what's happened at Mexico yesterday night and from Group One yesterday. Kiran is in a Ferrari, and Ferrari did dominate yesterday. He is a bit of a new fellow here, at least from the likes of the typical community that practices sim racing. But hey, my money is on him. What about you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I do agree with you about Kiran. However, based on what I've seen in our previous events in the Indian racing community, I would go with Dipanshu to take it away because yes, Chandra Pashra, who we are on board right now, watching, going through his qualifying lap, is very, very quick. Compared to Dipanshu, and will surely give him a solid fight. Dipanshu just has that confidence in him, has that patience in him. The most patient driver, in my opinion, that I have seen. So he can easily sort of put pressure on, the drivers around him to make sure that they are the ones making mistakes, but not him. So, in my opinion, Dipanshu has a solid chance of winning this race.
Well, that's our in. Alrighty. So we've got what 7 minutes done in qualifying. We
Yep.
are seeing Chandrabash Ray coming over through the last corner to finish his banker lap. Looked fairly steady, missed a couple of apexes, and cutting a fair bit of the track to cross up millimeters, milliseconds faster than Dipanshu there. So he does take the top step at the point in time. So yeah, he is definitely on pace right now in Group B, and this is something that you'd love to see.
Absolutely, only 300 separating Dipanshu and Ashray, and with the track evolution through this 20-minute qualifying, which we have finished about 8.5 minutes of, a lot more pace is yet to come. Perhaps we can see these drivers dip into the 57s if they really nail that lap. We saw Tavlish do a 56.6 yesterday, so it's all up for these guys as well. They could perhaps maybe achieve the Alicia's time, or maybe even beat it if they absolutely nail their lap. So yeah, all to play for here.
No, absolutely. And just to kind of let our viewers know, there is a 50,000 rupee prize pool on play here for Qualify 1, and that is split across the top four. And the prize pool is for your best qualifying time. So you put out your best time here in Silverstone as well as in Zolder, which is to come in a couple of days' time, and your best cumulative sum average, so to speak, of these two tracks is what we're going to stack rank to get the top four times, and they walk away with a hefty cash prize.
Yeah, well, a lot to play for these drivers. Again, as I said, the pressure environment is always there in motorsports, be it sim racing or even real life. But when big prizes like how we have for this event have been involved, it does put even more pressure on these guys to perform. Obviously, we can expect a lot of clean and quick racing over here, loads of side by sides. But then again, the driver who will come out on top obviously has that consistency, that pace, but also the one who has the calmest mind out of these guys will obviously triumph against the other drivers around them.
Yep. A little under half time into the qualifying session, and Dipanshu has put in an improvement in his second lap. We might see yet another one from Mr. Ashray along with Dipanshu. I mean, looks like they're getting a groove on. They're putting in consistent fast lap times, and Dipanshu in that last one just pipped Ashray just by a little bit, just little over a tenth of a second. So he's going into the third sector, hugging that apex. Each curb is, and extending to the absolute limits of the track there with every corner, and that's exactly what you want to be seeing. Him really pushing through, because it's a qualifying session which really sets the tone for how the rest of the field looks at you as a potential candidate or competition. Unfortunately, he did not
Absolutely.
improve on that last one. But yeah, he's gonna go out and for another one, see if he can improve.
I mean, he missed out only by 3 thousandths on his best lap, so he is getting there. He is cooking something. 9 minutes left in this qualifying. We do see a bit of a train going on between Dhruv, Samad Habib, and another car that is Baldy. Yeah, so all of them taking the slipstream of each other, and Chandra Pashre as well. Not sure if he's on an out lap or mid lap. Not sure what he's on, but yeah, he's also on a lap, and by the looks of it, a few drivers are getting a bit of a slipstream, whereas we watch Parth Patel here, as I said, a driver who is improving day by day, minute by minute on this game, putting in the hours, really grinding it off. I mean, the whole point of this event as well is that everyone is on equal footing. Even the pros get the chance to compete with the newbies and vice versa. So everyone is involved over here, and everyone has a solid chance of winning these races and this event. So we do see a bit of a slidey movement from Parth Patel here, but still keeps the car on the track and still going on. I believe this is the Hamilton straight that he's going on, going through F1's first corner, taking these corners beautifully, using every inch of the track that he can get, and hitting the apex here. Goes slightly wide, but still recoverable through the second sector that he's going through. So this is also another drive that we'll have to keep our eyes on. But
Yep.
let me ask you one question, Kapil. Who do you think out of through Parth, Kiran, and Vikram, all of these guys having a solid chance, and they're quite close in terms of pace, between each other. Who do you think has the potential to go within that top five to do the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm not going to place my bets just yet. I mean, I did say that I have a little bit of a bias for Ferrari, so I'm still rooting for him. But as you could see in the final sector of that lap, it's all about getting it spot on. You can't be cracking under pressure with this little time remaining. Path kind of watched that last sector and has lost all that time. And it's going to go again, and there's only little under 7 minutes in the session to go. So I think it's going to come down to who's going to be able to put in a representative lap, and more than anything else. Because 3 seconds off, I don't really think that's fast pace, and I don't think that's the case with most of the other drivers there. So we'll have to wait and see if they got what it takes to nail that one lap which counts.
Well, a very, very good answer there. So yeah, I guess that is something we'll have to look out for between these drivers. Super Bowl is what they have to play for right now. 6 minutes left in this qualifying. On board with Ashray, you can see we have cockpit cam going on the left as well as a nice heli cam going on the right. So all the views for our viewers here, having a quick glance at the timing sheets as well. You can see Dipanshu with a 58.7. Will Ashray be able to beat it? He improves by a hundredth on his previous lap time with 5 minutes to go. He has to put in a lot more to get that pole, at least in this qualifying. Take it away from Dipanshu, because you also need to remember if you start setting, those pace, if you start setting those lap times early on, it also puts that mental pressure on the drivers you're competing with. That forces them to push harder, which indeed forces them to make a mistake. As Dipanshu comes across the line, improves by 3 tenths, and by the looks of it, Dipanshu is doing exactly what I just mentioned a second ago. Ashray, by the looks of it, he is struggling more and more. He improved only by 100th, whereas Dipanshu 3 tenths of a second here. So a lot more work for Ashray to do in the remaining 5 minutes that we do have here.
Yep, definitely on the offensive there. And a little thing about Dipanshu, once he gets going, he keeps going. So I'm expecting him to improve over the next couple of laps, because it's the grind time right now. It's do or die, and he is very well known for pushing it when it absolutely matters. So this might not be his best lap yet, and we have a lot more to see. Ashray, yeah, he's another lap. He will get another opportunity to claw back. I'm sure he has it in him, because from the looks of it, these two are very similar in pace, and they are definitely duking it out for P1 right now. Well, the rest of the pack, that's something that I'm very interested to see, because there was a bit of a big gap initially, but the likes of Samad Habib and Yash Vikram there, Extreme, have been able to claw back that gap, and now the midfield is looking really, really spicy. 6 tenths, 8 tenths, 8 tenths. That's the gap. Little under 2 tenths of a gap between P3 and P5, and that's fantastic. Is absolutely amazing to see. Very similar to how Group 1 was yesterday.
Absolutely, and only 3,000 separating Yash Vikram and Baldy here. So those guys playing out for P4, a potential P3 as well. Let's not count that out for them. Dipanshu once again coming across, crossing the line, and he will improve by 4 tenths, currently on a 58-0, and 8/10 is something Ashley will have to find in the remaining 3.5 minutes that we do have here. A few tenths, half a second, perhaps you can find it out somewhere. 8/10 is a gap I've never ever seen close down unless you just have every previous lap. For the fact that Ashley doesn't really have bad laps, so he is pushing, and that mental pressure is definitely building on him. What do you think is going through Ashley's mind right now in this situation?
Well, it's easy to kind of lose sight of who you are within as a driver just by looking at the leaderboard saying that, hey, it's it's a little out of my reach, or it's just not enough time, or I'm just not being able to get the momentum. But at this point, you have to center yourself. You gotta take a step back and say, you know what? Yes, okay, fine. This is qualifying one. There's Super Bowl as well, but Super Bowl is just one lap, and need to be in the right frame of mind. But take a little extra seconds if needed, and then make sure that the next lap counts. He's got one more opportunity, and I think Ashley as a driver is someone who really can knock it out of the park. Let's see how it pans out. I think everybody except for Mr. Samad Habib is out on track, and we will definitely want to see how all of these folks improve. 8 tenths is the gap between P1 and 2, but 1 second, 1.2, 1.2, and 1.6, that's the gap between P3 and P6. And with a little under 2 minutes to go, this will be their final flying lap for the session. And just to remind everyone, the top five from this session will move on to the Super Bowl that's coming up next.
Yup, 1.5 minutes left in this session. By the looks of it, Samad Habib has chosen to sit in the pits and not go out. I think he's doing a bit of a Sebastian Vettel Singapore here, and in my opinion, he shouldn't really be too confident here because these guys are improving. Yash Vikram, Baldy, Kiran, all of these guys are improving. Even Dhruv and Parth Patel could pull something out here and put Samad Habib's P3 in massive, I say, crisis. Because remember, as you said, only top five going to the Super Bowl here, and he has about two positions to lose. If these guys do improve by a massive amount of time, then it won't really be a wise decision from him. Although we could see Baldy going onto the grass there. Not sure if he's invalidated that lap. Hopefully not, but that will definitely add, a bit of a grip loss to his very heated situation already because of that grass adventure that he's just had there. So he has to pull whatever he can in this third sector to try and push Samad Habib down. You can also see Chandra Pash going through the first sector, the Maggots and Packets section. I love this section
Not
of
looking to
corners.
clean.
Absolutely
It isn't
not,
looking to
but then
clean.
again,
So yeah, this is something that he might just have to concede for this session, but he will have another chance by the looks of it. If the rest of them bring out a couple of bangers of laps, which Ashray might very well be at jeopardy as well to be knocked out. But that is the timer. It has run out, so everybody is on their final lap. Has Baldy been able to improve on his lap time? I do not think so. So that is the end of his qualifying time. Kiran though has an opportunity. This is his final corner and his final opportunity to get into that top five. Will he be able to slot himself in and then, you know, have a say in what's to come? Yes, he can. And he improves by half a second and moves up into P4. A fantastic lap from him.
absolutely. What a lap, knocking Baldy out, who was looking quite comfortable there. Could not improve on his time, but this is crisis for Baldy here. Unless some sort of miracle happens, I don't think Yash Vikram will be going out as well. Unless Dhruv can do something about it in that silver and green McLaren. We'll have to see what he can do. Has a lot of gap, about a second and a half to Baldy, almost 2 second gap to Baldy here. But then again, he could have just had a bad lap. Going through the third sector now, coming into the Hamilton corner. We will have to see what he can do through there, as we are also on board Yash Vikram, who's also looking to improve here. On his time to potentially knock out Kiran, maybe even Samad Habib if he can do that as car number two, which is Dhruv does cross the line, but unfortunately that's it for him. He will not be going on to the Super Bowl, could not improve on his time. What about Yash Vikram? What can he do? He crosses the line and P3, and that did put Kiran on the line there. He's just about made it to Super Bowl. What a qualifying we've seen here.
Yep, absolutely close stuff. And we have essentially a little over a second gap between the top five, so much closer here for Group B. Fantastic scenes, and yeah, a fantastic way to begin day two.
Absolutely. That was a very close qualifying. We saw Dipanshu and Ashray fight it out, and then we also had the drivers in the midfield. Yash Vikram put in an absolutely amazing lap to dethrone Samad Habib of that P3 that he was quite comfortable with. But then again, Samad Habib still has made it into the Super Bowl with the P4 by not even doing a lap at the end there. So, quite a good achievement from him. And yeah, I think we could have something really good coming up for the races. So viewers, do stay tuned in. Meanwhile, we'll go for a short break.
Chetan?
rages around like an ocean in my head. I can almost feel you walking in the distance, but I know that it's not reality. If you are echoing around inside these parallel dimensions all alone, still believe in love. In a similar way, I feel I'm losing my conscience. Traveling for days without my knowledge of provenance. Throughout my life, you taught me a renegade. Oh, through all my lows, you said we could start again. But I'm a renegade of your love. But I'm a renegade of your love. Renegade of your love.
Been on the streets a few months. I'm trying to pick myself up. I may be living alone, but I still believe in love. And although my flaws had dragged me down on the coldest night, I'm still kicking around. And then I saw you back before my time was shortened. No, throughout my life you've called me a renegade. Throughout my loves you said we could start again. But I'm a renegade of your love.
But I'm a renegade of your love. Renegade of your love.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the wind crying out its prayer, while we so ashamed to be alive. Break the chains and our freedom's ours to take.
everyone. Welcome back from the short break. We've had an amazing qualifying that we have seen, a very, very close qualifying that we have seen, and now we're just waiting for the drivers to get ready for the Super Bowl. Quite an interesting set of drivers that we do have. All of them were quite close. We have Chandrapa Ashray, who is looking to be, a potential for a P1 here, as well as the Panshu. Samad Habib taking that P4 was quite close, but does have a lot more lap time left in him. But considering that it's only going to be one lap, it could amount up the pressure to these guys, and a few mistakes could happen, as we did see yesterday with a few drivers making a few mistakes, and they could not unfortunately set a lap time because of that. So, quite an interesting session coming up ahead of us. We'll just have to wait and see what these drivers can pull off in the meantime.
Yeah, and I think I'm ready for the Super Bowl. How about you? Let's jump into the action, shall we? Let's go. So five drivers, one lap each, one time, one attempt to win it all for the two races to follow. I mean, what could go wrong? Anything, honestly, from what we saw yesterday. So we can look and see who maintains the composure and who loses the plot. And it tells the tale of Group B here and day one for them, which is day two of our qualifier one. So let's jump into the action, shall we?
Absolutely. Let's see what we do have cooking for us from these guys. And obviously, a lot of potential of making mistakes here. So, yeah, let's see what these guys can pull off. Lap times won't be as close as what we were seeing here, considering that if the trend does follow from yesterday, which we did see, where the lap times were about half a second off. So don't expect really quick lap times here, at least in compared to the first qualifying session, but these lap times will still be quick nonetheless.
Yeah, yep. If anything, if momentum is on your side and you perform positively to pressure, who knows? This one lap could be just what you're looking for to really knock it out of the park. The conditions are the same from qualifying to Super Bowl, so it's not like there are an actual disadvantage. It's more of a psychological one. So yeah, I'm very interested to see if anyone can actually improve on their qualifying. It really shows them and shows all of us that they've got uh, just what it takes in terms of knocking it out of park when the time is just right. Five beautiful cars on track, five beautiful GT3 cars, two McLarens, one Mercedes, one Lamborghini, and the Ferrari. So I'm happy with my prediction so far, and you've taken the fan favorite Dipanshu as your favorite. And let's see how all of this pans out.
Yep, absolutely. And let's not forget Ashley here. He is also one of the fan favorites. Actually, more of a driver favorite than fan favorites, as we can see that Kiran, first driver out on his Super Bowl lap. Let me just remind you guys that it will be one out lap, one hot lap, or one timed lap, and one in lap for these guys. Although most of them do decide to just RTG or return to garage right after they've done their hot laps. So, yep, it will be quite interesting to see these guys go out. And yeah, as I was saying earlier, Ashley is quite a driver favorite rather than being a fan favorite, because the drivers obviously around him do know what kind of a driver he is. They know his caliber, his potential. But then again, let's not take it away from the bunch either. 8 tenths was the gap, 8.5 tenths to be exact. That was the gap between Dipanshu and Asher in the first qualifying session. Here, obviously, it's only one lap, so the gap might not be as big. And we did see Asher taking the lead of the session earlier on in the first qualifying. So, he does have the potential of taking away the pole here for the race that's coming up, the 30-minute race at Silverstone. And, that could prove to be quite helpful to him, as obviously starting in P1, though you don't have the slipstream, considering the short main straight that we do have here for these GT3 cars, since they are using the old pit straight as their main straight. So, you know, being on pole is very, very crucial here, and that is what we'll see. That is what will put the pressure on these guys to get that pole, and obviously the margins will be quite small. As Kill rounding up to the Hamilton corner here, and he will be starting his lap very, very soon. So, Kapil, why don't you take us through this lap?
Well, with pleasure, Mr. Simply taking the apex onto the Hamilton straight. You begin your hot lap, spotting the braking marker, 50s, chucking the car, and goes really wide there. And yeah, actually, he's
Oh,
so dejected by the fact that he was just invalidated. He's calling it quits right away. It is really, really unfortunate to have put in so much of an effort to get into the top 5 or for it to end within 10 seconds of his hot lap. That's a heart goes out to you, but it is what it is. And yeah, that's the unforgiving nature of the Super Bowl. One mistake, and that's curtains, ladies and gentlemen, and that's one example of what not to do. But you've got nothing to lose. You can't be sixth. You can't be lower than that. So for what it's worth, at least he's got that on his side.
absolutely. Making it to the Super Bowl itself was quite challenging for him, considering he was on the line at the very last second with, Yash Vikram, or I believe it was Kiran, who improved quite a bit. So, a very, very challenging first qualifying, and then obviously it is quite heartbreaking for the driver to, have one chance at qualifying and then they're not able to set in that one lap. P5 is still solid, middle of the pack. He can work his way up there. We know he has the pace to do so. So all we can do is just wish him the best. As the purple or pink McLaren of Samad Habib on the outlap, car number 420 over here, going through the second sector, slowing down, and almost looked like he wanted to stop there on those grid spots to do somewhat of a practice start. But no, he keeps on rolling and he keeps on moving, getting that temperature into the tire, warming the engine up, making sure everything's within the right temperature, which is also something crucial for these guys. Let's not forget that, because it is very, very crucial that everything is within that right temperature window, because you don't have another lap to build it up and kind of go on forward from there. So a lot of brake usage, these drivers will be using. From that, what I mean is, pressing the brakes, slowing the car down, increases the brakes temperature, which instead transfers that brakes temperature into the tires, warming them up through there as well without having to weave and further degrading the tires, because you need whatever you can get on this one lap that you do have. And now, hopefully, Samad Habib does not invalidate his lap. So, Kapil, take us through this lap.
Well, he chucks it in once again, and this time actually keeping it within the white stuff. So that's good to see. He's going into the Maggots and Beckett section, misses the apex, not that aggressive, and having to compromise his line. You can really see that he's not able to really chuck in the corner, having to be very tentative and not carrying as much speed as you can through that section here. Going on to the long straight into a sweeping right-hander into Stoke corner. You want to be hitting the apex and carrying that speed right outside as far as possible into this next left-hander. Getting a bit of the line wrong, but he has to keep going on into the Vale chicane, which typically is the last corner for the Formula 1 track, but still the middle of the circuit for Mr. Samad Habib there. This is the next section where we can really make or break it, because the car washes out to the left side, chucking in terms of steering input, getting a lot of understeer into that high-speed left-hander. Just a few more corners to go, putting in that opposite lug as far as possible, and this is where he has a bit of a breather. He's just going to compose himself for a few more corners to come, because he needs to get the turn in. That's got that at the breaking point. The car goes out, drives out all the way to the edge of the track. That's not a very bad line in that regard. You can definitely make it count, and sweeping it all the way to the outside of the last sweeping right-hander, taking the shortest line to the exit, and that is 159.8 from Mr. Samad Habib. Well, he's definitely done better in the qualifying lap, but that is Super Bowl. You get one chance, and that was his one shot. Well, simply, why don't you walk us through the lap from Mr. Extreme, Mr. Yash Vikram?
Absolutely. Going through turn one here, missing the apex and going off wide, still luckily within the track limits. So that's cost him a bit of time there, but he did get a lot of speed. So something to make up for it. Going for brackets and brackets, eating the curbs here to reduce as much of the track length as possible, reducing the lap time. And he's gone off wide here as well, taking the cross, and I believe that's a lap invalidated for Yash Vikram. So that is unfortunate, as we can see immediately Ashley Chandrapur going outside for his outlap. And actually a fun sort of a fact here, I guess, for you Kapil as well as the viewers, of course. Samad is actually exactly a second of Dipanshu's time in the previous qualifying session. So he is right about where he was in the previous session as well. So moving on, obviously, to Chandra Ashray, a lot of pressure on him. There was a gap of 8 tenths between him and Dipanshu. Although, of course, that was because these guys had a lot more time to set a lap here. They had about 20 minutes to set a lap, whereas over here they only get one lap. So he is braking, slowing down, increasing the temperature in the brakes that do get transferred over to the tires, making sure those tires are in the right temperature, making sure the tire pressures are right as well, because this could be the make it or break it lap that is coming up for him. This is what decides the pole that we do have here. If he messes it up, well, that is it for him. He will end up in P3, I believe, despite getting very, very close to Dipanshu. So a lot of pressure on Ashley over here.
And his tactic, his strategy of warming up, I mean, you can hear that Merc V8. It is, in my opinion, the sexiest sounding engine out there. And funnily enough, you've got two purple cars who have basically taken most of the track time in this section. You just got a glimpse of some of the car popping in and popping out within 15 seconds. And this is all the prep done and dusted for Mr. Ashray. Yeah, simply why don't you take your good friend Ashray out for his hot lap and see how he does.
Absolutely, known this man for about 3 years now. Let's see what can he pull off for this qualifying lap as he comes through the final corner, full throttle, coming across the line to begin his lap. Upshifting into 5th here before very quickly downshifting into 4th, hitting the apex quite well and going off wide, still within track limits, and losing a bit of time there, but still a lot of time that he can gain through maggots and beckets, as he does take the amount of curb that he possibly can, because the Merc loves eating up these curbs. And yeah, he's just using up every curb that he sees here, not leaving an inch away from the border, from the track limits. They're almost going onto the grass. And of course, Mercedes being a very, very wide car here. So that is one thing that he also has to account for. And yeah, there is an interesting fact that he did tell me, but I will share that fact afterwards, as he does come into F1's final corner, taking the apex on the inside, getting very close to the sausage curve there, and a very, very good exit to start his, I would say F1 lap, but he's not on an F1 lap. He is going through F1's turn 1 here. A small downshift goes off wide there. That will lose him quite a bit of time, because that corner is very, very tricky to pull off. A very high speed corner here. You need a lot of downforce for it, and clearly he has understeered off there, although the following section of corners was much better. Tires screaming at this point. They do have a bit of time to cool off here on this straight before a few very load filled corners coming up again. Down to second gear, missing the apex slightly, not taking much of the curb, losing the rear there, just briefly catching it back though, coming through the final corner now and almost touching the grass there, which is fair enough. It is quite a tricky corner, and as he comes across the line, and was that an invalidated lap? I think
Yeah,
it
it is.
was.
I think, yeah, his last corner out of left field, I think he went a little too wide and he paid the price. Mr. Ashe has not been able to set a valid time and he is out. I mean, that's it. His qualifying one time will have to be taken into consideration. We've got three invalidations out of five. Really, the pressure has gotten to almost everyone. And Samad Habib, with arguably a very good lap from his perspective, is now in P1 and at was P2. But having said that, the man on the mission, the man on the top step so far, Mr. Dipanshu, is going to start his final Super Bowl lap. Simply, why don't you walk us through this as well?
Absolutely, would love to do so. Dipanshu missing the apex there, but still well within track limits. Actually, kind of taking the ideal line through turn one, coming into Maggots and Beckett's, and going slightly wide there through the second left-hander, but that's fine. He has a great exit nonetheless out of Maggots and Beckett's, and he is continuing on through this, I believe, the Hamilton Straight, or it could be the other one. Very confusing. Nonetheless, coming into a very tricky corner, a very off-camber corner, really requires a lot of grip from the tires here. And coming through the slow section, F1's final few corners, keeping the car quite balanced. And just as I say that, he does lose the rear end just a tad bit, but nothing too crucial is what I want to say there. Coming through F1's first corner, not downshifting, so clearly has a lot of grip on the front tires here. Maybe his setup is perfectly tuned for this track, a very front-endy setup, taking that grip from those front tires, turning the car in, and that is what he is doing over here, using the throttle to kick the rear out and finally complete that turn. A very good driving style from Dipanshu in third sector now. Coming to the last few corners of this lap, we'll see what he can do. Getting very close to the apex, so this is already looking like the time that will definitely be pole for him over here. But by how much is the question? Unless he invalidates there, and he got just as close as Ashley did on his lap, will he be able to keep the time? And that is a 58.4, actually improving on even his pole lap time from the previous session here. And that is your qualifying. Dipanshu takes the pole by 1.4 seconds from Samad Habib.
Wow. Now that is a stellar lap from Dipanshu. Really showing it out there that he means business. A 58.4. Well, one of two people who finally got their lap in. So kudos to Samad Habib and Dipanshu for making that happen. Damn, what a Super Bowl. That is not what I was expecting, I'll be very honest. I was expecting a few more laps, but that pressure really getting to everyone here. So yeah, 58.4 out of 59.8 from Samad Habib. That's going to be your top two. And I think from the looks of it, P3 will be Chandrapa Ashray, P4 will be Yash Vikram, and P5 will be Kiran. So that's kind of the top five, because their last 3 times is going to be taken away from qualifying one. So that's what it is. Damn, interesting stuff. Because the way it's positioned right now, Samad Habib, not necessarily the fastest guy on track in terms of his raw placement and raw pace, which Chandrapa Ashray had a little more. So he's going to be maybe feeling that pressure come race one. So we'll have to wait and watch how it pans out. But any last words before we head for a break? Simply.
Well, as I completely agree with you, a lot to look out for here. Asher will have to tackle with some other beam. Again, his experience doesn't really have as much pace as Dipanshu and Asher, at least for now. Again, we don't know how his race pace is going to look like. 30 minutes coming up ahead of us. So, he's going to be a definite barricade between Asher as well as Dipanshu. So Asher will have to do a lot of work here, as well as the drivers in the midfield. Parth Patel, who is in P8, he does have a lot of work to do. I know for the fact that his race pace is quite good, so a bit of a challenge for him as well. And obviously, the person under the most pressure, Dipanshu, he'll have to defend from a whole pack of cars behind him, all looking to attack him. So yeah, that is all I really want to say. And yeah, stay tuned, get a bit of snacks going on, because 30 minutes of Silverstone coming up ahead of you guys just after this break.
Don't look behind your back. Chase a light when the world is getting darker. I have a dream where love's the only side. So take my hand, join the army of the shadows. Going harder, we are more than numbers, standing in this hate. Going louder, we are all one color, standing in their way.
close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. On we'll go, finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Right, everyone, welcome back. We are here after a short break. We saw an amazing Super Bowl happen just a few minutes ago, and I do hope you're prepared with all the snacks. Get your popcorn and everything going, because we're going to have an interesting 30 minutes coming up ahead of us at Silverstone. 9 drivers fighting it out. I believe 8 drivers, apologies, fighting it out. All of them quite close in terms of pace to each other. Obviously, the ones to look out for are Deepanshu as well as Ashray, since they will be fighting it out for the win over here. And Kapil, your thoughts before we get started?
Oh, I am just getting just super pumped up because uh, qualifying told a good story that even though they may not have put in the best Super Bowl time, the pack is definitely close. So I'm expecting a very Group One-ish midfield kind of battle that's probably going to be going on throughout the race. I'm hoping there are no crashes, honestly, because that was the caliber that we saw yesterday. So big shoes to fill today as well. So I'm very interested to see how these guys are able to maneuver themselves, because race day is where the points matter. That's what's going to get you to the next round of the Esports Premier Series. So let's jump into it and see who's got what it takes.
Absolutely. A lot to come up here, and a lot of expectations that these guys will be carrying out. Of course, of the viewers who have been watching since the beginning, as well as obviously all the drivers and all of their, friends and whoever their supporters are. So, yeah, let's get into it whenever the lobby is ready. And yeah, a lot of action coming up ahead of us.
Indeed. Well, we have what, 4 McLarens on the grid? That
Yeah.
is known to be quite good on Silverstone. It's actually a very driver-friendly car. You can just chuck it in. It's not going to spin you out. It's very beginner-friendly, so I would say, because the ones like the Porsche that we saw from Hari Krupalan yesterday, or the likes of the Lamborghini or the Audi,
Yeah.
they're more mid-engine and more rear-engine focused. So
Yeah.
if you put in too much love, the car's going to be like, you know what, I'm going to spin out and give you a nice smoke screen for the lols. You got to be on your toes when you drive those kind of cars, and it rewards sensitive inputs. It's happy to
Yeah.
turn, it's happy to be tail happy. But cars like the Mercedes of from Chandrapashre and the McLaren, which pretty much half the field has, that's more understeery. So you can chuck in from a steering perspective, and the worst thing that's going to happen is just going to slide along, but you're not going to completely lose control. All you have to do is just let go of the throttle, and you have better opportunities, of more forgiving nature of the car for you to kind of get back into the depths of control and then continue driving. So that's kind of like the from an analysis standpoint, how the driving style of today's participants are um, very different. The stark contrast to yesterday's grid, where it was like
Yeah.
a much more aggressive stance from their car choice at least.
Well, it is best to go with what you're comfortable with rather than taking risks. And obviously, if these guys are comfortable with the McLaren, a car that, as you said, is quite driver friendly, if that is something that they believe they can extract a lot of lap time out of, they might as well go with that and try out their chances rather than going for a car that could potentially be quicker. Like we saw Tavlish in the Ferrari here, yesterday, and also I believe we do have Kirill, who is also in a Ferrari. So cars like that, easy to pick up on, but they're obviously quite hard to master. So it depends upon the driver, their driving style, how they like their cars. I'm surprised to, obviously, or rather not surprised to not see cars like Honda and, the Nissan Prius, although quite good in their own ways, obviously not as competitive as the cars that they have chosen here. For McLaren's, not a lot of, car variety, as you said, comparing to yesterday, with Group 1. But still, it is quite a good car nonetheless. And obviously, we see Dipanshu using it quite well. So, there is quite a bit of a chance of them, pulling it out and perhaps extracting every single bit out of their car.
Yep, let's see if our drivers are on the grid. I think we're very close to the race beginning. So whenever we get that opportunity, we will definitely switch to the action. But uh, all right, I think we are just about ready. Let's jump into it, shall we?
Absolutely. And you can see a nice lineup of cars ahead of us. Four McLarens, two Mercedes, one Ferrari of Kiran, and one Lambo of Yash Vikram. The Lambo does remind me of Navneet Singh, in Group 1. He was there yesterday, uh, because he loves that Lambo, and I've seen him use the Lambo for quite a while. Yeah, and obviously he's kind of mastered the Lambo. Yash Vikram also being one of the only few drivers who's actually going for, you know, I wouldn't really say odd cars because you do see them quite frequently, but at least what we have seen so far, it is one of the odd ones out, just say not the least.
Yeah, I'm just noticing the grid and noticing the cars on the grid. They're not exactly lining up. Dipanshu on the far right is definitely on pole, but the overall standing showing a slightly different picture. I'm sure it's just technical glitch, and once we start the race, it will sort itself out. But yeah, to walk through the grid, Dipanshu on the far right in pole position with a 58.4. Samad Habib, the only other driver who was able to put in that valid lap, the 59.8 in
30
P2.
seconds.
Chandrapashre in P3, so we got two purple cars in the podium. Let's see. I'm very interested to see if how their battle
20
pans
seconds.
out for this race. But yeah, the order that you see here, that's what's going to be also at play for the next race at
10
Zolder.
seconds.
But yeah, without any further ado, simply why don't you take us through the race start?
Absolutely. As we watch on Ashray Chandrapa in the P3 behind Dipanshu and Samad Habib, let's hope that track limits is not an issue for these guys because the way the track limits, I'll explain quickly how they work. Three warnings, and the fourth warning will be a drive through, I believe, or a 30-second penalty if unserved. So that is something these guys do not want in such a close fight. So yeah, they definitely have to keep it well within track limits, unlike how they've been able to do in the qualifying. As we watch Dipanshu, he's the track is about to go green in just a second here as he crosses the line. It's green, green, green. There's a Dhruv has an improper starting position, has a drive through to begin with. So that is a very, very good start. He's already gone off the grid from the looks of it. Being actually shot up to Pete already. Been fighting it out with not sure who the other plays, but he's lost it on another position. Making a mistake and he's lost on that position as well. He's having to cut the corner and go through it. And to avoid getting a penalty, he'll have to yield up all the time he did gain by doing so. And that has put him in a very, very bad situation because he needs to be fighting it out with Dipanshu here and Yash Vikram, that is, who's in P2, Samad Habib in P3, Ash is down in P5. He's not got off to a very, very good start, fighting side by side with the other Mercedes driver of Baldy. They're fighting it out for P4, and Dhruv is quite close to them, and I do stand corrected. It's actually Kiran who's not gone off the grid, although Dhruv does still have that drive-through penalty for the improper position start, is what I believe it might be. So,
A
a
couple of
very, very
corrections there.
interesting first sector.
Yeah, a couple of corrections there. So you've got Dhruv who's still in the pack. He believe is P6. Kiran was the Ferrari who did not get off the line. And he's the one who was stranded there, and I believe he's quit the session right now. So you're only down to 7 drivers. Not exactly sure what happened to him. Ashley there went down the inside into turn one and then made a complete mockery of Maggots and Beck is completely cutting through. But unfortunately, as it stands, Dhruv is the first one with a drive through. I'm not entirely sure if it's something that has come into picture because of Kiran's, absence from the trick, whether that's thrown him off. That's something that the stewards will definitely inquire into. But yeah, that is a very interesting start. But before we kind of talk through the grid, the major winner from all of this, you've got Samad Habib who had a bit of an offing, got pushed out wide by Chandrapa. Yash Vikram from P4 in the grid has jumped all the way up into P2 and he's completely being hounded by the likes of Samad Habib and Baldy behind him. We've got two Mercedes attacking a Lamborghini and a McLaren out front while Dipanshu slowly but surely driving off into the distance.
Well, yeah, unfortunate for Dhruv, obviously, but Dipanshu already pulling away a 1.7 gap to Yash Vikram in P2. So he is putting in the laps right now to make sure the day gets harder and harder for Ashray Chandrapa, who's almost hit the rear of Baldy. Both of them were actually teammates in an endurance race quite a while ago. However, they are fighting it against each other. Both of them know each other's strengths and weaknesses, so this could be an interesting battle. Although, of course, not where Ashley wants to be. He wants to be right behind Dipanshu, fighting it out for the P1 position over here rather than fighting it out for a P4. He has a lot of catching up to do, and considering all of the drivers around him are kind of equal on pace, it could be extremely difficult for him to get past Baldy as well as Samad Habib when he does eventually get there.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. They're on similar machinery, and oh, having said that, some of the people completely missed his braking marker,
My
and
God.
he's gone so wide that he's actually given up in his return to garage. I'm not sure if we're having a reset here, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got 2 cars, 3 cars back in the pit. So I believe there might be very well a change in the way this session is going to pan out. Yeah, I'm just having a look. We have a lot of chatter going on within the session itself. Folks having issues with the headset, so I believe from what I can see, yeah, everyone has returned to the garage, had come to a consensus that what, let's do it together or let's not do it at all. So I believe there very well might be a restart at play here. Good to see that there is a camaraderie. It's not that they're just out for themselves. It is, after all, an event with all of us Indians out there, and I believe the stance is unanimous in this regard that they want to go back and they want to get into a frame of mind where everybody starts the session together. So, two cars, I think they're using it more of a practice session, and that
Okay.
is a very dangerous maneuver there to start right in the middle. Let's hope we don't see that again. But yeah, that's your first attempt of race one here at day two.
Yeah, well, an unfortunate restart, and obviously Yash Vikram's essay almost flashing, dropping down, but luckily just managed to avoid. I believe that was Dipanshu. So yeah, those guys got an extra half a lap or so. Got a bit of a half a lap or so advantage compared to the other drivers. But yeah, absolutely love the camaraderie between these guys. Considering all of them do want to make sure that everyone gets a fair and equal chance at this fight. Considering that Kiran did disconnect in the beginning because he was facing a few issues. So a lot of sportsmanship going here. As much as they do want to beat each other, of course sportsmanship is what takes the highest priority in these drivers list, and obviously that goes to show everyone wants a fair fight, and that is what everyone's getting.
Yep, from the looks of it, and I'm just looking into the chat here. Mr. Kiran had an issue with his headset. Kind of ran out of charge at the most unlikeliest of times. So I believe he is someone who is taking in the
Yeah.
full experience with regards to VR. So he's got a
Yeah.
Quest 2 from the likes of it, and he was kind of iffy going into the Super Bowl itself, saying that he may not have a lot of resources left in his tank for that session. And at the worst possible time at the beginning of the race, it said that, you know what, I'm done, I'm heading out
Yeah.
of here. So I think we've been there as well, and it always finds the worst possible scenario to have a moment like this pop up when it actually matters. But this time he's just quite lucky to get away with it with a do-over.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if hopefully now he does have enough chance to at least finish this race, and hopefully enough chance to finish the other races that is coming up. Although he will have a little bit of time in middle to kind of charge his batteries back up for his VR headset. That was quite unexpected for pretty much all of us, because not really a lot of them use VR headsets. But yeah, in the meanwhile, let's quickly give these guys a bit of a break, and let's hope that the lobby gets restarted quite soon as well.
Yep, we'll be back in a jiffy.
We'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Alright, we're back after that very short break while we were restarting, and yeah, hopefully we are ready to go into the session itself after that quick restart that we did have.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that momentum on your side. I know each restart kind of puts you off edge and like it creates unnecessary, drama is not the right word I'm looking for. But when you're in the moment, you're dialed in. You know, you're focused. You want to get it
Yeah.
out of it, and the more time you spend not doing it, it's annoying to certain people. It's nerve-wracking for everyone. So let's just jump right into it. We are 30 seconds, little under 30 seconds for the session, and let's hope this time nobody gets a drive-through. So Mr. Dhruv there has been really, really, really lucky to get away with that, and Kieran this time around gets that clean getaway, and Ashley as well doesn't make a complete fool of himself. Let's hope that all of it goes well. Simply talk us through the race start once again.
Absolutely. Let's just hope none of the history actually repeats itself over here, because that would be, certainly for these guys. And Debanshu not really slowing down much as compared to the other drivers, and building that the temperature in the tires. And let's hope that again they do not mess up their starting positions, as that is quite crucial. As we just wait for the green flags to drop in just about a second. Here we go. Somehow we go to a very good takes the opportunity is coming. Someone Habib is Vikram is not going into it's not the winning of just yet. Having caught with Saman Habib, Saman Habib is drifting. Vikram has just gained a few positions by being off the track. So that's something the stewards will be looking at. Right, Chandrapan, I believe in P4. The amazing. He is already a few seconds ahead of these guys, actually overtaking and Vikram actually giving the position. So play from him. Very close to Saman Habib over here, and that will also be looked at by the stewards, because they put Saman Habib off and little contact with Ashray there. So it looks like a lot of fighting already going on, and we're only through half of them.
Yeah, chaotic scenes here at Silverstone. We've got cars going off track, going into each other, going off track, and then so much more. There's so much action going on, and you can see that the Lamborghini of Yash Vikram got a fantastic start, moving up one position, and Ashray moving down a couple of positions there, just cracking under the pressure. The pack is eating him up alive. Now, what do you want to be seeing from someone who did so well in the qualifying session? But he is the big loser, moving on all the way to P6. Baldy now picking up the pieces, not letting Yash Vikram go out, forcing a mistake from him. Gonna go round the outside. You've got two 2x2 backings going on out of left field. A bit of contact there at the edge of your screen. But what a fantastic end, action-packed lap one. Wouldn't you agree with me?
Absolutely, the action's obviously not over yet. Yash Vikram defending it off of Baldy, who's right behind him. Ashray, obviously the biggest loser from the start. Dhruv casually knocking off that cone right there, the track limit cone. Ashray having to fight his way back, and I believe this start is actually worse for him, because he has to do even more work now. Or Dhruv makes it easier for him by making a mistake. That's Parth Patel who spun out, and that is not good for him. He's lost out on a lot of time because of that. tires will be blazing hot. Although he does have 27 minutes to recover, considering how close this pack is, it might be near impossible for him to catch back up to the pack ahead of him. Watching Dhruv right here, who's getting quite close to Kiran in the Ferrari, in the new Ferrari. And Asher has already gone past him. Now he has 2 and a bit seconds to Baldy, who's up ahead of him, who's also fighting with Vikram. So that could help Asher recover those positions because both of them are fighting tooth and nail here. But we will have to see what can Asher do. Not a good start. Whereas Dipanshu has already pulled a 4 second gap in just one lap from the rest of the pack, and he is dominating them right now. Baldy, on the other hand, fighting it out for a P3 with Yash Vikram, who's also not had the best of starts, but does sit in P3, so he'll absolutely take it at the end of the day.
Yep. Ashtray slowly picking up the pieces, gaining that composure back. He's got a place back from Kiran, and he's got the pace. He's got the pace to claw back into all the way up to P2. So he's got a little bit of time. He's got to continue to keep that momentum of not making any silly mistakes, not be a tractor on track. You don't have that much liberty in a track this close. So we'll have to wait and see how his race pans out. But yeah, Yash Vikram and Baldy have definitely picked up the pieces where it mattered. And after a very iffy little start, Samad Habib has been able to keep that P2 and he is in a comfortable position.
Absolutely. Although he, not only him, actually, the rest of the pack is running around 2 seconds slower than what Dipanshu is doing right now. Dipanshu, he's pushing right now. He's building up the lead. But as we've seen in quite a few races, not from Dipanshu, but in general, what drivers tend to do is push on early. They eat through the tires. Though they build up quite a big gap from the rest of the pack behind them, they do, use up a lot more time but they're constantly pushing. And obviously, since it is a 30-minute race, by the end of it, they do, lose out on those tires and they start losing the time to the back and the back eventually catches up to them. Although what has caught up to Ashray is terror as he has a 5 second penalty, which I believe is because of the contact that he did have on lap 1. So that is just rubbing salt into the wounds. It has only been around 6 minutes of this race. There's still 24 minutes of the race coming up.
Yeah, 5 second is definitely gonna hurt his chances because he's gonna have to do that much more to first overtake. I mean, you've seen yesterday that overtaking in itself is no easy feat. It might be a wide track, but you can just carry so much speed out there, and you really need that over speed to make it count. Dipanshi out in front, 59-1, with Samad Habib lead 6 or 6 tenths a lap slower than him. So there is definitely a difference in pace with the leader. Very similar story with what we saw yesterday. But the hot battle on track right now is with Vikram and Mr. Baldy. These guys have been sticking it close to each other so far, and very interested to see how Baldy ekes out that performance in that Mercedes to get alongside. Catching is one thing, but overtaking is definitely a different ballgame altogether.
Absolutely. You do need a lot more pace compared to the driver who you're fighting with to overtake them. And Baldy is actually quite on par with the lap times in terms of Yash Vikram, only a few tenths faster than him, which is certainly not enough in GT racing. You need at least a second, second and a half, you know, lap time compared to the driver you're fighting with to make sure that you do, have a solid chance at overtaking them. He is building the pressure on Yash Vikram though, but certainly right now it is not enough as they've only been going for a few laps. But as it does build up more and more and more, it could be that Yash eventually might make a mistake. Although their fighting has definitely helped Ashley, despite having that 5 second penalty, he's closed in about 1.5 seconds in just about a lap here. So he is lapping quite quick. I believe he's only a tenth off of Samad Habib's lap time currently, and Samad Habib is in P2. Definitely not close to what Dipanshu is doing, but certainly enough to help him get past Baldi and Yash Vikram, catch up to Samad at some point as Dipanshu sets yet another personal best with the 59.0, and Samad is about a second off. Looking at the times here, actually is only 4 tenths off of Dipanshu now, so the times are increasing from Ashley's side, and it might not be the completely easiest thing to get past Baldi and Vikram because they are fighting over here right now. But eventually, if he does play, try to pick his pieces properly, he could get past them. But obviously, Samad Habib is going to be a massive issue in his quest to get closer to Punch.
Indeed, indeed. He's you, for Asher, you can see Mr. Habib right there at the edge of his screen. He's got two cars, two very wide cars, if I may say so, in front of him. He's got that pace to bring that gap fairly quickly, and the way it's looking like, it doesn't look to be the case that Baldy is really attacking or really putting on the pressure just yet on Mr. Vikram. It is more of a case of trying to keep within striking distance, seeing when he falters. So definitely more of a slow game on that regard, while Ashray is pounding in, putting in good lap times compared to the ones in front of him. And if within a couple of matters of laps, or maybe even a lap or two down the line, we might very well see him putting on the pressure for the folks ahead.
Absolutely, he is catching up. 1.2 seconds separate Ashley and Baldy. He will have to keep that 5 seconds in mind. He can appeal it later on, but I won't say anything, but it might not be too in his favor. Punch with a 58.8 now. Let's see what can Samad Habib do as he will cross the line pretty shortly over here. On 2 minute, all of the guys in 2 minutes other than Yash Vikram, who is 3 times faster than them. So Dipanshu currently lapping 2 seconds a lap faster than the guys ahead. And it makes sense. He is about 9 seconds ahead of Samad Habib. It is no joke. His laps, I guess it is no joke that these guys are definitely struggling to keep up with Dipanshu. I think what they should be focusing on right now, rather than fighting each other and slowing each other down, they should be kind of working together to get close to Dipanshu, and then all of them collectively could fight for that P1 as only 19 minutes to get in this race. So a lot of pressure on these guys unless Dipanshu does eventually make a mistake, and let's not forget Ashley does have that 5 seconds which will be amounting up to him. Samad Habib will have to be defending from these guys quite soon as they are catching up to him, so a lot of pressure being put on him as well. So we will have to see if it turns out to be a diamond or an explosion.
Well put there. The way it looks like, yeah, there is, if you look at the map, there looks to be a good train of cars all the way from P2 to P6. So they're quite close. Kiran has managed to put in some great lap times to catch up to this field. He's a little under 2 seconds from Ashtray right now. So definitely don't rule him out of the picture just yet. He's definitely putting in some good lap times, and he just very well might be there to pick up the scraps if and when these guys get into battle. We might see some sparks flying out, as you say. We might see some explosions on the track.
Yeah, well, let's hope that that does happen because Ashley really needs it right now. And I think I think the timing sheets are slightly, yeah, they're relative. They're not overall. That is why I was a bit confused there. But yeah, Samad is okay. Dipanshu now has over a 10-second gap to the rest of the pack. So every lap he's pulling away just that bit more. But then again, the question remains: for how long can he push at that pace? His tires will fall off at some point. what is that point where they do fall off? Perhaps with 10 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go. In my opinion, if they do fall off at about 10 minutes to go, then it will be too late for the other guys to do something about it, because by the time they catch up, it might be towards the end of the race. Uh, and not all of them might have a solid chance at that B1. Whereas if it's around the 15-minute mark, which should be around the next lap or maybe the lap after that, then they do have a bit more chance, because by the looks of it, they are kind of managing their pace, not really attacking each other, giving each other plenty of slipstream here and there, making sure that they are working less through the corners. So perhaps they have all collectively decided. I mean, I say collectively, they are obviously all driving by themselves, but perhaps they have decided within their own minds that it is not a good decision to fight with the cars, because Dipanshu is just pulling away lap after lap after lap. So it might be in their best interest to just try and get closer to him rather than fighting it out for whatever he is left.
Yeah, definitely. It's not necessarily a case where you gotta go guns blazing to prove yourself at the expense of destroying your car to pieces. It's unnecessary for you to push so hard, given you're so far ahead from the pack, putting in lap times way faster than the rest of the grid, to then unknowingly, without warning, make a mess of an easy victory. You're well within your right to take it a little easier with terms of pace, and then make sure that you get to the end, because getting to the end is where you get the points, not just for putting in the fastest lap during the race. The points are what's going to take you on to the next stage of this wonderful series here. That being said, Yash Vikram has put in on the pressure on Samad Habib. He is little under 2 cents. You can see the weaving, you can see the pressure getting to Samad Habib right now. He is defending, he is in the defensive position. That purple McLaren trying to occupy as much space as possible on the track. Will Yash Vikram make a move? He's sending it down the inside, and then side by side action through the entire chicane. But Samad Habib keeps the position very well, placement of the car, if I may say so. And this battle has just finally gotten its way. How is it looking on your end?
Well, it is certainly good for these guys, because Yash has a solid chance at a P2 here, considering Samad is struggling right now. Obviously, Asher is delighted as well, because he does have a bit of a gap behind him to Kiran, so that 5 seconds might not really play out if he does finish in P5. But obviously, he wants a lot more than that. He wants to get past these guys, build up that 5 seconds to these guys. And obviously, even if he stays in P2 behind Dipanshu, it's still a P2, because drives are not within that 5 seconds. Yash pushing a lot right now and almost making a mistake. They're almost hitting Samad. That's why he's lost a bit of time, about 2 minutes to Samad. Dipanshu with 59 seconds, so he's also kind of backed off, trying to conserve his tires a little bit by the looks of it. And everybody else, especially Samad and Yash, in a 2-minute 1 lap time. Asher is well in 2-minute 1, so that's not good for him. But then again, it's understandable, and by the looks of it, Parth Patel was causing yellow flags in Sector 3 and he's RTG'd, so I think that will be the end of the race for him, unfortunately. We do have 13.5 minutes to go. These guys are fighting it out for the podium positions. A lot of pressure on Ashray, and I mean a lot of pressure on Samad Habib to fend off from about 3 cars that are behind him. And if the fight does continue, perhaps Kiran could also be joining this battle and making it a little bit harder for all of the guys around him. So yeah, we will just have to see how this turns out and hope that there are no further collisions or no further dodgy moments, let's just say.
Yeah. And as we kind of go into the same corner where Samad Habib made that defensive move last lap around, I think his positioning was quite interesting from a perspective of saving his car more than necessarily being a blocker on track for the Lamborghini behind. Oh, he's gone really deep this time around. They're going to put him in a really compromising line. Yash Vikram goes round the outside. They're going to go side by side into the Wellington straight. Samadh for that point in time, but they are neck and neck, nearly neck and neck in the straight right now. The pressure really getting to Samadh Habib. He needs to break, spot his breaking point, and in this scenario, both of them getting it spot on. The pressure is on Samadh Habib, and he needs to keep it on the white stuff. Having said that, there's a bit of a moment from the Lamborghini of Yash Vikram, and Baldy is going to hound him. Going to go round the outside, so much so that he goes outside of the track and going to think about an audacious move round the outside into turn 1. But this time around, nothing doing there. And yeah, he's inches away from Yash Vikram, and a very, very hot attacking battle to a defensive drive now from Yash Vikram.
Absolutely, that was very, very tricky for Baldy as well as Yash Vikram. That one mistake, just caught Baldy right on his tail, and actually as well, who's also pretty much on Baldy's tail. That's a great glance. And we through he's having a second penalty, which I'm not sure what for, but he does have a 10-second penalty, and that is something that is not ideal for him. What is not ideal for Samadh Habib is the fact that all the three cars that he was worrying that hopefully don't catch up, they don't, start fighting with him. All of them have caught up, and all of them are prepared to fight with him. It's been 15 minutes and 45 in this race. Actually, still with 5 seconds, not ideal for him because Kiran is within 3 seconds of him, so he might end up P6, which is not good at all for his situation. But we will have to see Ashley looking.
Yeah.
Yep, and Baldy defends it off quite well there, and he's looking at it again. Baldy doing an amazing job at defending, and Ashray is just getting more and more frustrated. That move alone, that bit of defense from Baldy, lost him 0.8 of a second. Not ideal for Ashray.
And the way it looks like Baldy is able to read off his ex-teammate of Ashray there fantastically well. He sized him up, thinking he's gonna pounce on him, and that car's placement was absolutely spot on. He had absolutely nowhere to go, and rightfully kept that position of P4 with a beautifully defensive maneuver. But the battle goes on. Samadh Habib still keeps that P2. Yash Vikram still keeps that P3, and Ashray still on the attack on Baldy. Kiran unfortunately has not been able to make too much of an inroad. These guys are definitely slowing each other down, but not to the extent where Kiran can really capitalize. But all of that could change. We've just got a little under 10 minutes of racing to go, with almost a sector of a difference between P1 and P2. Dipanshu has well and truly checked out.
Absolutely, a very dominant drive from Dipanshu, kind of what we saw yesterday with our Group 1 drivers, where Tavleesh just absolutely dominated the field. Of course, that gap was slightly bigger, around 22 or so seconds by the end. By the looks of it, Dipanshu might be able to pull that off, as now the gap is 10 seconds between him and the rest of the pack. Ashray having a slight bit of understeer through all of the dirty air, and he's gone off wide. His tires might also be screaming at this point, and I truly believe that those tires are pretty much dead. But these guys are not giving up. They're trying to extract whatever they can, try and make sure they do, and take that P2 away from Samadh Habib. Because if they don't, then obviously the efforts won't go to waste. But then again, they will be slightly disappointed. And even though they were just there, they were very, very close to the top 3, they will not be able to get it. Especially Ashley, who's actually gotten past Baldy here. The battle is still going on though, but by the looks of it, Baldy has made a mistake, and now it is Kiran's time to deal with Baldy, or rather Baldy's time to deal with Kiran. And Ashray looking forward now, trying to get to this battle that's happening between Yash and Samadh Habib. A lot of pressure on his hands.
Yep, Ashray finally getting that window of opportunity, and he made it count. Finally moved up into P4. Now he's going to be trying his level best to extinguish that gap ahead. I mean, those two have been quite close all race long, and I'm not sure if Yash Vikram might lose it coming the end of the race. But as it stands, the both have kept a good amount of composure, and I'm very interested to see how it will pan out at the last leg of the race. Having said that, Kiran had an opportunity. He was quite close and is just under or around the second to Baldy right now. Baldy just having a bit of a moment there and paying the price for the position, not what he'd be looking out for. But having said that, that is what happens when the grid is so close. And Samad Habib is no stranger to having other cars so close to him because he's putting in on the defensive drive of the series right now. He's placing his car all in the right places. He is taking those defensive lines. Yash Vikram trying he's trying out every strategy in the book. He's trying to go down the inside. He's trying to take the wide line. He's trying to, just force his way through pressure or just letting him have his way. And Samad Habib is just taking it all in. And look at that, just another example of that pressure getting to Yash Vikram. Is pushing his car beyond the limits to a point where he's just lost that time and he has to make it up all again.
Absolutely, that was very, very tricky from Yash Vikram. Then he keeps getting close, but unfortunately, he makes those small mistakes which amount to a lot of time difference between him and Samad. And eventually, he gets to do all of that work again. But by the looks of it, Baldy is trying to redo what he did in the beginning of the race, getting past Ashley over here. And Ashley, of course, defending quite well. And obviously, because both of them have been teammates before, they know their weaknesses. Baldy will try to do whatever he can to force Ashley to make a mistake. He knows what he can do wrong and what he can do right. That is what he's trying to work on here, especially with Ashley with the 5-second penalty. The place is pretty much guaranteed for Baldy regardless, but it is always better to get it on track, considering that Kiran is also getting there. So Baldy in a bit of a sandwich right now, because if he loses that pick, he might not have enough time to get it back and secure that P5 or rather P4 for him, whereas Kiran would absolutely not mind whatever he's done. And let's actually take a moment to appreciate what Kiran has done. He made a mistake in the beginning of the race, and he's done absolutely amazing to catch back up to this time. He's doing amazingly well to put pressure on Baldy here, going around the outside as a very last minute move. And by the looks of it, he will remain on the outside because the move was extremely costly. I think he just missed his breaking point completely.
He had such a good run on Baldy that he had too good of a run. He got, I believe, caught up in the moment that he might actually put it off in the first go, and he completely mocked it. That was quite unfortunate and comedic, if I may say so, because he's put in all that hard work, but he's got to do it all over again. He probably racked up a couple of track warnings in frustration. That's what I saw at the edge of my screen there. But Kiran has to kind of do all of that again, and there's not really much time left. We've little under 4 minutes to go. We've got and more or less, other than Ashley making that move on Baldy, it's been status quo ever since last one.
Absolutely, and Ashley's goal pretty much now would be that he will have to. He just has to make sure that he can somehow in the next 3 and a bit minutes pull away, from Baldy. He already has a 1.5 second gap. He just needs about 4 more seconds to ensure that he can fully get away and remain in that P4, as every position is crucial for his race. And with 2 more laps to go, he will have to put in, faster than quality laps here pretty much to get far away from Baldy. Unless Baldy makes a mistake, then it could be possible that he does to pull away the 5 seconds. But by the current looks of it, it will go to Baldy that way.
Yeah, never say never. It can always surprise you that one corner might catch you off, and then you might have to do all of it again, or just concede a position which you were so well at keeping all throughout the race. But yeah, we're at, I think, little, yeah, it might just well be one lap to go from the looks of things. Dipanshu is coming out of the last corner. He might slow down on purpose because he's just crossed the line here, which might mean two laps. But the looks of things, the closest the battle on track is again Samad Habib we Yash Vikram. That gap is a little over 3 tenths right now, and with a little, probably the last lap of the Grand Prix, we'll have to see how that pans out.
Absolutely, and I think Dipanshu might just lift off a tad bit here to ensure that this will be the last lap rather than making the drivers go on for another lap and continuing that way, as it will be pretty much pain for everyone, because I'm pretty sure they've only prepared for 30 minutes and not 30 minutes plus one. Trying to reduce that lap time from the fuel load. So we'll see what they can do here. Yash Vikram only 3 tenths away from Samad Habib now. I do stand corrected. It's a second and a half now. Yeah, Ashray is actually closing into Yash Vikram, but then again, it's not really looking good for his P4 here, because he can now drop to P6, which again will be a massive disappointment for him, despite all of the pace he has shown today. And the other person who has shown a lot of pace is Dipanshu, who is around 16 and a half seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. So it's pretty much been a Sunday chill ride for him by the looks of it.
Yep, yep. I believe Yash Vikram like tried to make a move, was unable to make it stick, and he's kind of fallen back into the clutches, nearly into the clutches of Ashray. But yeah, that would sadly be the end of that battle. And Samad Habib has made his way from P3 to P2 in race one today, and that's a good result for him. I think he'll be fairly pleased with that result. Dipanshu has slowed down for that last lap. He's crossed the line with a 2 minute 5, but he's taken victory here in race one with maximum points. Samad Habib in P2, great defensive drive to come in P2. Yash Vikram in P3. Chandra Ashray was in P3 for a moment, but with that 5 second moves down into P6. I believe it's P6 behind Kiran,
Yeah,
or P5, should I say? Yeah. So both of them getting him on the line because of that penalty for causing a collision in lap one. So yeah, that was a heck of a race, if I may say so. 30
yeah.
minutes of action-packed racing in Silverstone, a classic, and at the end of it, well, a very interesting result, if I may say so. Yeah, great showing from all of them.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that it's not over yet. We still have one more race remaining at Zolder. This was just one race at Silverstone. And obviously, the results of this, I believe, will set the grade for the first, the race at Zolder. Do correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. However, yeah, if this is what we saw in just one race, considering we do have another race coming up at Zolder, there is a lot of expectations. And obviously, Ashray, he'll try to do whatever he can at least Zolder to try and get into that podium positions, because despite his best efforts, it just didn't work out. He got a 5 seconds for a collision with Samad Habib, which is obviously not ideal for his race. So we'll have to see what he can pull off at Zolder.
Yeah, but the good thing on his watch is that the qualifying order from the first session is what sets the grid for Zolder. So he will
Oh,
start this next race in P2. So that's a load off his back. But then again, if he goes ahead and makes the same mistake again, he's gonna have to do that work all over. And Zolder is not like Silverstone. Of course, it's quite difficult to overtake
Yep.
in Silverstone. It's doubly hard to overtake in Zolder because it's a tight and technical track. And you've got a couple of Hail Mary corners which can just throw it into the mix. You've got the gravel, which is completely unforgiving. It's a completely different ball game when we go into Zolder. So do not go anywhere, folks. We will be back after a short break, and we will be heading into race two for 30 minutes of Zolder. So see you then.
I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love, you say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna try, but you
Hey
All right,
folks,
everyone,
welcome
we are
back.
back. Yep.
Indeed, yeah.
Yep, we're back after a very short break and an interesting race we have seen before for the viewers who are just tuning in. We saw an amazing battle happen at Silverstone between Ashray, Yash Vikram, Baldy, as well as Samad Habib. All the way from P2 up until P6 were in contention, as well as Kiran joining in at the end. So, an interesting race where Dipanshu did dominate by around 15 to 16 seconds. So, a very, very good race that we did see with plenty of battles. And of course, we do have one more race at Zolder, yet another 30-minute race coming up. And what are your predictions for that couple?
It's it's always nice to put out predictions because it is such a different track in this regard. And I just had a little chat with the drivers before jumping in, and everybody is clueless out there for some reason. They said that they've been putting in so many laps in Silverstone that they're just not ready for Zolder. So I think things are going to really spice up right now. We might see a very different order come Zolder because just one miss in terms of a track extension and you're in the gravel trap. So you're going to be losing a lot more time in a very forgiving circuit like Silverstone. So my predictions, probably Dipanshu is still someone who's probably grinded this track as well. So I'm not really expecting too much different from him. I still expect him to take the top step. But in terms of the mid pack, I think the folks like Baldy and Ash, put in so much more and have that much more experience, might pip out from the likes of Yash Vikram and Samad Habib. That's just my thoughts. I could be wrong. We'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. I mean, as you said, I mean, I can't really even have a differing opinion because that is exactly what we have seen, and that is what could turn out. Although, as one thing I would like to point out that as you said, the drivers haven't really prepared for Zolder as much as they have done for Silverstone, and yes, we could have a different finishing order here, but Silverstone, yes, there's plenty of runoffs. You can run off, you can make a mistake, you lose a couple positions, but then again, you can instantly come back onto the track. Whereas at Zolder, all you have off the track is grass and dirt. You can't really come back on the track like that because the grass and dirt will just pull you away to the barrier. So it is even more crucial that they don't make a mistake here. A few of them did make a few crucial mistakes, like we saw Yash Vikram when he was fighting it out with Baldy as well as with Ashray, and he lost out on a few positions. And the other drivers making a few mistakes here and there as well. So they could afford to do it at Silverstone. They can't really afford to do it here at Zolder, though. They'll have to be at the edge. They might as well be, a bit more cautious and trying to, especially pressure the drivers ahead of them to make a mistake rather than sending brave moves like we saw Kiran do, with that amazing run that he had on Baldy, but then at the end of the day, he just could not make it stick. Although he did still finish P5. And talking about finishing the races, we're about to start one at Zolder, 30 minutes on the clock. And yeah, it is going to be very interesting. Parth Patel, who did not have a good race at Silverstone, he obviously had to, because of an incident, I believe, he had to pretty much leave the server because he was just too far behind the pack. He gets a bit of a redemption arc for himself here, and he does have that chance of doing a lot more in this race.
Yeah, little bit more on that regard. He did have an incident with Dhruv, and Dhruv, if you can recall, had a 10-second time penalty
Yep.
on track during that race, and that was because of an unsafe rejoin. He came in back onto the track, and as a result, I'm believing had an incident with Part and had such a big impact on his race that he had to essentially return back to the garage and call it quits. So it's a very
Yep.
unfortunate
And
end
I
for
do
him there.
have. Yeah, go
Go
on,
on.
Kapil. Okay, well,
Yeah,
I do have a bit of insight as to why that inside the whole incident happened and why Parth was where he was. Apparently, Dhruv did an unsafe re-entry, and he got a 10 seconds plus a penalty point for that unsafe rejoin and causing a collision. So, yeah, I guess fair enough from this towards.
Indeed, you can't be having that and ruining others' chances when there's so much stake at play here. So, swift actions, swift justice for Path here, but that's not necessarily helping his cause in terms of getting more points because his race was done and dusted there. Having said that, we are going to start at the Zolder International Circuit for race 2 here at Group 2 for the second day. Simply take it away for the second start.
Sure, Dipanshu, all of the guys actually just warming this up, braking, adding the temperature to the brake, which again gets transferred over to the tires, warming them up. 30 minutes of Zolder coming up very, very shortly here. All of them in position and pretty much waiting for the green flags to drop, which should be somewhat green flags, and it's not being off to a great start once again. So is actually the Russian leads going into turn 1. Contact though with Salah Habib, which is pushed off one, taking the P2 away, with actually changing the delivery of his car as well while he's angry. Salah Habib has to settle one for P3. Kiran fighting it out for a P4. Although by the looks of it, has also been coming down. Again, not a lot of losses to do over all. Yeah, by the looks of it, everyone is just following quite closely. Samad Habib having a small look down the inside, but actually not enough to set it. Actually, Dipanshu making a mistake. Actually, getting very, very close to him. And so is Kiran to Yash, but by the looks of it, not enough.
Yeah, so much pressure there from Ashray going off the track and then some, trying to get that elusive traction to get close to the Dipanshu, because you know in the last time around he just got up and just ran away with it. So this time around Ashray putting in that pressure, making really, really close to Dipanshu at this point in time, and in the mid pack you've got Samad Habib again being hounded by the likes of Yash Vikram. And yes, in this regard, Kiran has kept that P5 in this regard. Baldy is not made that same great start that he had last time around, but after a fairly clean lap 1 at Zolder, it's still more or less the same order that is. Having said that, Baldy goes down the inside. Yep. Go on, simply.
He's in contact with Kiran. Not ideal for him. Dipanshu though, he is actually getting challenged now. Actually looking down the inside of Dipanshu, cannot do it there, but he's putting a lot of pressure on him. So it's also Habib. All ridiculous. Dipanshu actually seeing quite a few cars in his mirror, actually having another look down the inside. Contact in the back between Yash Vikram and Baldy. Not sure what's happened to him. What's happened to Dipanshu? Though that he has lost a lot of position. Samad Habib with an amazing run up. He's almost overtaken Ashley as well. Dipanshu down into P3. And Samad Habib came out of nowhere. I'm almost running out of words here. My God, what has happened?
Really things have shaken up oh so much. Ashray running away in that muck in P1 and Samad Habib putting on the brakes and just flying into P2, and Dipanshu has no answer. Absolutely no answer. These two cars are running away with it, and the likes of Kiran and Yash Vikram are right behind this McLaren. Oh, how things have spiced up here for race 2.
Absolutely electrifying moments coming up. It's only the second that we were about this. The overtaken once again. They should be very close to Samad Habib. Although as we can see, it's a complete reverse of what's happened in the first race. Shri is running away from the Dipanshu. Dipanshu in P3. To get up to Samad Habib, but it's not for him. Samad Habib is a very experienced driver himself. He's gonna do whatever he can to get the double podium for him. He is doing perfectly with the technique of someone took a bit of the dirt, but nothing of concern yet. And because of this battle that could be coming up between Dipanshu and Samad Habib, both the McLarens Vikram both could be pulled in. It could be one star battle once again for P2. And for all we know, if Ashley does make a mistake, he could also be fighting for those positions, and he could be under pressure with all of these guys who are trying to take away his rule. It looks like Zolder someone's also taking the is actually who's taking a lot of dirt here. Not sure why, but he's still maintaining that lead. Kiran sending a dive bomb on Dipanshu, and Dipanshu and Kiran going side by side. Yash Vikram just watching the battle unfold in front of him. A Ferrari and a McLaren. McLaren with the inside. Dipanshu on the inside. They're still going side by side, none of them willing to back off. Yash Vikram trying to find that one little bit where he can squeeze through, and by the looks of it, he has found that one little bit as the track opens up for the main straight. And now Dipanshu down in P5. This is exactly what happened to Ashray in the last race. Yash Vikram defending off from Kiran, but Kiran makes an amazing move round the outside into turn 1, and he's defending now from Yash Vikram. Slight contact there, but yeah, not good for Dipanshu.
Yeah, shocking stuff for someone who just completely drove away. It looks to me that I don't think he's all too attuned to this circuit. He was so comfortable out there, and he's absolutely struggling right now. The rest of the folks are just on him and on top of him at this point in time, and the McLaren does not seem to be very comfortable on this tight and twisty circuit of Zolder.
Absolutely, but it looks like actually loves his technical tricks. Also, they involve a lot of elevation changes, and of course, after he just puts and that is what he's doing right now. As the Dipanshu taking a bit of dust himself from off the track, so that corner proving quite tricky to them. And, for all we know, actually could do Dipanshu over here, although he's only about. Actually, he is 4 seconds in the lead from Samad Habib with 24 minutes to go in this race. If he keeps it consistent, does not make a mistake, he could go on to finish in P1, a full-on redemption from what we saw earlier.
Yeah, Ash just pulling out all the stops at 29.3, 2 seconds faster than Dipanshu out there. So his guy is just completely turning the tables this time around, and showing and actually starting to extend that lead from the rest of the pack. He is actually checking out.
Absolutely, and let's not forget, I also saw Baldy's time right there pop up. Baldy is also lapping at the same time as Ashley, so if Ashley can do that much, I'm pretty sure Baldy will be catching up to the pack ahead of him of Dipanshu, Vikram and Kiran quite quickly in a matter of just a few laps here. He could be starting to pose a threat to these guys. Although he is 8 seconds behind, considering he is going 2 seconds faster, it will only take a few laps for him to catch up and start putting pressure on these guys. Considering how much Dipanshu is struggling right now, it is not ideal for his race.
Yeah, he's got to turn things around because all of the other folks and the way the point system is kind of attuned is that every position matters, and a P1 is not as powerful as it is in other point systems. P1 gets 15 points, P2 gets 14, P3 gets 13, 12, 11. It's just a 1 point gap deficit. So though he's got maximum points and he's got that super pole point to go with, if he loses any more, he might very well be in jeopardy of not qualifying for the next session. Having said that, he's gone deep. Kiran has taken out Samad Habib, and Dipanshu actually can take a breath at this point because he's just clawed back 2 more positions and moved up into P3.
Yeah, well, Yash Vikram is still there. He's also going to act as a barricade from Dipanshu, considering Ashray is over 10 seconds, 10 and a half seconds ahead of Dipanshu right now. Well, he does have a lot more work to do, and of course, Zolder being Zolder, can't really make moves. You have to pressure Yash Vikram into making moves, and of course, Yash Vikram, as we saw in the last race, he's not someone who really does fall into that pressure, so it is going to be very challenging for Dipanshu here, whereas Ashray will be glad that this is happening because he can run away like how Dipanshu did, and we can just see Kiran in the rear view mirror, or rather the rear dash cam, of Dipanshu here, and very clearly his car does have a lot of damage on it, so that will be quite tricky for him.
Yeah, regardless of the damage though, he is looking super racy out there. Kiran with that Ferrari, that sexy red Ferrari there, getting all up on the diffuser of Dipanshu and making his presence known. Inches away from hard braking zones, and Dipanshu at this point just doesn't seem to be really clawing in on that gap. If anything, he's losing time, maybe a tenth or 2 tenths per lap
Three
in this regard.
seconds.
Yeah, from the likes of Ashley, and also not really making any inroads to that of Yash Vikram. Having said that, it's all to play for. This track, one mistake and that's curtains. Of course, Samad Habib really got the short end of the stick. And that's probably an incident which will be looked with very seriously by the stewards
Yep.
for that collision which Kiran had made. So it's probably a big one coming on the Ferrari man's side. But having said that, this is still up for grabs in terms of who's going to be in the podium positions for this race, and every point matters here.
Absolutely. A lot of efforts over here from the stewards as well. We need to applaud them because they are doing live stewarding right now, and they have to watch the replay as well as keep an eye on the track. So a lot of work for them. So that's a nice round of applause from him. And Dipanshu will be applauding in his mind because Yash Vikram has just made a mistake. Both of them going side by side, coming into the final chicane. Who will come out ahead? Who will outbreak the other? Yash Vikram does seem to have broken later. Dipanshu, can he get a switch back? No, instead he gets switched back by Kiran. Dipanshu now in P4. Where will he be? By the looks of it, they're both side by side going into turn 1 here, and usually the inside line could prove to be better for Dipanshu. However, Kiran just carries that speed on the outside and keeps Dipanshu in
Wow.
P4. And Samad Habib is also glad that this is happening because he's only 1 second away from this.
Brave stuff there from Kiran. Got that perfect line. He made that opportunistic move from an attack from Dipanshu to a perilous defense. He was unable to defend, and that beautiful sweep round the outside by Kiran. My God, beautiful. Hats off to him for making that move stick around turn 1, using all that curve to his advantage and moving up into P3. But do not forget that incident with Samad Habib and that broken bonnet on that Ferrari is going to become haunting back with a little red arrow, a little red banner along his side in a few moments' time, potentially.
Potentially, indeed. I mean, for now, I guess he could still manage his way with that damage, and so can Samad Habib. But as the tires wear out, you lose the grip in the tires. They just don't want to stick and don't want to push anymore. That is when it will be even more challenging for Kiran, and unfortunately for Samad as well. Kiran, I guess he could somehow adapt his driving style to manage with the understeer he's dealing with. Samad Habib, he's going to take a lot from him to make sure the car doesn't snap because that's hit his rear wing. The main thing that produces the downforce on these GT cars is the thing that's damaged on his car. So it is going to be really tricky for him as the race goes on. So whatever he can do right now, he has to do to keep up with the punch and put the pressure on him because otherwise it could potentially turn out to be fatal for him.
Yeah, and Dipanshu does not seem to be happy in his position from being so far ahead in the previous race to be right in the middle of the track. Now Dipanshu is finally getting a second win and going to round the outside of Kiran. He's trying his best to come back, and Kiran is responding to that pressure in not the ideal situation and has conceded a pure result of that black McLaren being all up on his diffuser. Dipanshu, through a very strategic move, moved up all the way back into P3. A good drive from that, good overtake.
Absolutely, and it is quite tricky to get that corner right to begin with because the braking point is right after the curve ends, that big left-hander ends, and of course it is not quite easy to slam the brakes in such a corner at the exact same time every lap. So you know it is what caught Kiran out with the car with the massive red arrow and a massive black McLaren in his dash with a very tricky corner in the combination. He just lost the position to Dipanshu. But considering he has done it 2 laps ago, he does have the potential of doing it again. Although it could be at the cost of Dipanshu making mistakes. So we will have to see what he can do.
Yeah, it doesn't that doesn't look to be the case that that singular mistake has had any adverse effect on his racing, because he's still pushing and quite close to the Pancho. You can see Yash Vikram right there at the edge of your screens. So P2 for Mr. Kiran, barring any the verdict from the steward, is definitely not out of the cards here. And the way he positions himself, when he does get it right, he gets it really right. And you can see how close he is to Dipanshu on this opportunity. You seeing the McLaren go defensive in that light of that beautiful exit that Kiran gets. He's so close. He's making his presence known, and Dipanshu, for whatever reason, is having to respond in a way so aggressively to make sure that he keeps the position, and he makes a mistake. He goes onto the grass and gifts the position back to Kiran in a very similar fashion how Kiran had previously lost that position.
Absolutely, it is a very very stressful moment for Dipanshu right now. He's making mistakes he shouldn't really be. We're halfway down through the race, and Asher is in a 20-second lead from the guys behind him. So it is quite crucial. Of course, Samad Habib will be quite disappointed with what's happened in this race. Yash Vikram, on the other hand, though, he will be delighted with what happened because he is 1 second ahead of these guys. And Ashray, by the looks of it, he's just cruising, not making any mistakes, doing every corner as good as he can, as perfect as he can, is what I was looking to say there. Not making any mistakes, and he's just pulling away that gap lap by lap. Whereas the pack, he's pretty much a sector ahead of the guys behind him. So this just goes to show that this track is really suiting Ashley right now.
100%. From someone who was in the mid pack in the last race, to have this domination out to kind of show that I do mean business and I'm here to make a statement with a 1:29.1 as a best lap, 1:25. He's consistently a second ahead of the rest of the pack. And this goes to show you that these folks have their moments, have their tracks. Dipanshu's was clearly Silverstone in this regard, and this time around it's Ashley who's really come to his own on track. We have news on track, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news on the decision of the stewards on Kiran's incident with Samad Habib. That was a turn 1 incident that resulted in a spin and loss of 3 positions for the purple McLaren, and the stewards have deemed a 15-second time penalty for the current man in P3. That Ferrari has been slapped with 3 5-second penalties to really put him out of contention. I mean, this is going to put him back all the way to P6. And boy, oh boy, that is a biggie. That is a biggie, don't you think? Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Has made a mess of him at the end of that chicane. He's probably been disheartened by that 15-second, and to add insult to the injury, he has just lost all those positions he made. He fought all the way through the race, and it's all gone in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, and while we're talking about penalties, by the looks of it, Paul is struggling to keep it drive through for him. And the only possible explanation I would think that is because that he has exceeded the track limits too much. He's serving the drive-through in the pits right now, and he's also a lap down. So actually, he's fully dominating here. But of course, he's not going to give up. He's going to fight until the very end. But yeah, I mean, the drive through is really going to hit him. But I think he's actually retired from this race. He's not coming out of the pit. So I think he's decided that it is it for him. And obviously, Kiran with 15 seconds. I'm going to assume that it's not just going to be only the 15 seconds, but it's also going to be followed up with a few penalty points with it. So his race has just gone from good to okay to bad to worse very, very quickly here. And Baldy now attacking Samad Habib, going into this very tricky chicane that you can absolutely cut though because of the track limits there. And Baldy still putting pressure on him. Of course, Samad having to deal with a broken rear end, which does mean that he will have a loss of downforce. And at a track like Zolder, where you do need a lot of downforce, he's missing quite crucial amounts of it, and this is not ideal for him.
Oh, indeed. That black Mercedes is definitely putting on that pressure on Samad Habib, who's limping home at this point in time, and it shows. His pace at from each corner to corner is not able to carry as much speed as possible, and going into turn one, he's thinking about the move and a bit of a switchback from Samad Habib. He says, "You know what? I may not have the car, but I definitely have my wits about me." And oh boy, got him good with that switchback, and he keeps that position for a few more corners. Fantastic defensive drive there.
Absolutely fantastic defensive drive and absolutely amazing timing from the stewards as well, because I'm just hearing right now that Baldy has picked up one penalty point for causing a collision. So I am not sure why he's done that. I can't recall the collision, but he has picked up one penalty point, which is not ideal for him, although he doesn't know about it just yet, as he gets very close to Samad Habib, and both of them going side by side into the chicane. Samad still managing to stay up ahead. Great move from Samad, keeping his line, keeping his calm, and just getting ahead. But he had news for Baldy.
Oh yeah, this is not over yet. They went two into one into a chicane, one of the narrowest points of the corner, and they were rubbing wheels all through that section. Oh man, this is going to be a very spicy ending. Some of the people already gotten a bashing on his rear from the likes of Kiran, who is just at the edge of the frame there. So he got that pace and he might come into the picture once again. But I really hope he does not get battered and bruised all that more from the likes of Baldy right behind him. Because these are two cars that are extremely close. And if clean racing were to prevail, I think Samad Habib would definitely be thanking his stars because he's not had the best of days so far.
Absolutely not. And the most he can do is finish a P4. 8 minutes left. It's not going to be the easiest thing for him to do, but he's going to try his best as per usual. And considering the worst case scenario he could end up is in a P5, I think he'd still take it. Although, of course, he would obviously would rather have his podium, which he was in. He was in a P2. He was in a solid position before that incident happened. So unfortunate for him, but being in that top four still is going to be a good morale boost and a good recovery from him despite of what happened.
Oh yeah, just and as you saw in the middle of the lap there, just a bit of a moment. He got a little too close, missed his braking marker. Very similar to how Tegas won, completely missed it last time around. No, he got that inkling of a tough chicane to take. You have to eye your braking marker. You need to get that spot on, and you miss it, and the next thing you know, you're in the gravel trap. So luckily got away with that, was able to stop the car this time around, and lives on to put another lap of pressure on the back of that purple McLaren.
Yup, it's a small mistake, but luckily it hasn't costed him much. And yeah, Ashray is pretty much one sector ahead from the rest of the pack here. And an amazingly dominant drive from him, Baldy will have to keep putting that pressure in. He just has to do something about it. He just has to make sure that he's putting constant pressure on Samad. Only then can Samad perhaps make a mistake with his obviously oversteery car that he has because of the damage. And talking about coming back, we can obviously see Dipanshu in P3 after being what P6 at one point. So he's done a good recovery drive himself. But then again, Yash Vikram, by the looks of it, has been defending as much as he can to keep Dipanshu behind. The gap is staying around half a second to 4 tenths, and we can keep an eye on both the battles that are happening right now between Baldy and Samad Habib, as well as Dipanshu and Vikram. Baldy getting quite close to Samad here, but it was a good run. Has the help of the slipstream going into turn one. Will he be able to make the move is what we have to see. And the same with Dipanshu. Baldy goes round the outside, but is just a little bit too far behind to be making that move here. And he's still putting his pressure on Samad Habib though, and so is Dipanshu at the same time.
Oh yeah, I mean this director level view of two battles at the same time. Oh my god, it's like paying for two subscriptions and getting the price for one. That's so good stuff. But yeah, Baldy had an interesting line. He was thinking about the same switchback which Samad Habib did on him a couple of laps ago, but there was good placement from Samad at the end of turn one to make sure that he carried the speed over and he keeps that position. But Baldy he can almost touch the back of that McLaren. He's so close. I mean, it really takes a lot of guts to be that close for that long. It doesn't really hurt his car all that much, but in terms of references, you gotta brake when you brake. You gotta turn in when he turns in, and you're essentially at his mercy. So if you, for whatever reason, lose concentration for just a millisecond, you're going to be hitting him, or at worst a lot more. Bad things can happen to you on track. You can see that black McLaren all over that rear dashboard, thinking about the defensive move. Samad Habib going all the way to the left of the track, and Baldy thought about the move, but then got all out of the shape, and then spun out to lose one more position. And yeah, that is the tale of Baldy, and he seems to be celebrating in disgust already.
Yeah, well, by the looks of it, I think he has an illegal wing on him right now. That Pirelli board is giving him some downforce. Okay, well, never mind. It's taking away the downforce. He's out of that 15-second gap from Kiran, and he is struggling right now. The tires are boiling. I can understand what he's going through right now as a fellow driver, but my God, he was doing so. Okay, well, that Pirelli board has said bye-bye for now. But yeah, he was doing so well to put pressure on Samad Habib. A very good battle that was cooking up, but unfortunately that one mistake has just ended it all, and by the looks of it he will have to finish P6 because he's out of the 15-second gap from Kiran. Talking about Kiran, actually, he's gotten two different incidents. So the first incident was, I don't think it was with Samad, because the second one is a severe collision. That is where he got 10 seconds and 2 penalty points. The first one was 5 seconds and 1 penalty point. So I think that collision with Samad is what has given him 10 seconds and 2 penalty points here. And I'm getting flashbacks right now because both of them are right next to each other.
Yeah, we have maybe a little over 2 laps. No, we will have one more lap of racing from the looks of it, where Ashray is also about to lap the likes of, I believe that is Dhruv, in the middle sector there. But yes, the hot battle on track right now is Kiran. We've already had a coming together, but will it happen again? Will they have the fairy tale ending? Will they drive off into the distance in the same order? Or will Samad Habib say, you know what, I don't want no trouble, I'm just trying to live here, and they just concede but then get it back because of that penalty which Kiran has?
Yeah, well, it is going to be PTSD corner after corner for Samad Habib. He just has to hope that they finish the race in a calm manner despite what's happening. 1.5 minutes to go in this race, and Kiran is getting quite close to Samad there, but for now, no collisions and hopefully no more collisions at all. As if we look over to our right hand side, the battle between Dipanshu and Yash Vikram. Yash did make a bit of a mistake there, although Dipanshu was just not close enough to capitalize on that mistake. But this does help Dipanshu out in securing a P2, which means that he can cut down on Ashray's point lead by a decent amount. And I think he'd rather increase his lead, although Ashray will close in by quite an amount after getting this very, very dominant win.
Yeah, Dipanshu was a little too close to Yash Vikram there and kind of followed him through into that mistake. Was unfortunately not able to capitalize on it. That would have been a defining moment for him to make that move and move up into P2. Had that fatal recovery drive, so to speak. But we've got a little over half a lap left. He's trying really, really hard, but it might be a little too late because the time is more or less up. Ashray is coming along the final corner of the race 2 here on day 2 for the first qualifier, and he wins on track with a final lap of 1 minute 30.282. So a fantastic drive for him to take victory here on race 2. Having said that, it's not over yet. We've got the final corner, but yeah, fantastic drive from Yash Vikram to move up the positions from P4 or P5, I believe, into P2. So superb drive from him to get all those points back for him. So fantastic on that regard. Kiran, well, tough luck to him. He had the pace. He was unable to make amends for it in that regard. Wait a minute. Yeah, sorry. I was not able to see Samad Habib there in the picture for a second, so I was quite alarmed by it. But nevertheless, you have him finishing with 15 seconds, but Baldy, with that pirouettes and all those mistakes that he made, fell out of that 15-second window and was unable to capitalize, and he will ultimately also finish in where he started, which is P6 in that regard. Wow, what a race it has been. Incident filled, action filled to come to this moment through with that Lando Norris like McLaren to cross the line to close out what has been a fantastic day of racing.
Absolutely. I mean, we have seen quite amazing drives from all of these people, and I'm so happy for Asher as well. Getting that win by 20 seconds is a whole, bit of dominance in himself, right? And that is what we saw yesterday with Davlish doing it in both the races, and obviously in Silverstone we saw Dipanshu do it as well. But it is still commendable to both Dipanshu, Davlish, as well as Ashray for absolutely dominating their particular races and winning out by a very, very big margin compared to the rest of the field.
Yeah, totally. And just goes to show you that we've got great drivers all across, and just brings out that excitement that there's so much more going on in the world of sim racing, and it's great to see that spotlight finally put on all of them. So kudos to the winners of today. It's been a fantastic showing, and I hope all of you, the viewers, had a fantastic time watching. We had a great time commentating through all of it. Simply, any last words before we head off for today?
Well, all I really want to say is amazing races. And of course, let's not forget, we still have a lot more races coming our way. This was just the second group. Tomorrow, we're going to have Group 3 going at it again. And also, by the looks of it, looking at the placements and the grid of Group 3, it is going to be yet another group with a lot of close racing happening. So, that is something we will have to look out for. And let's not forget, the day after, we are getting our Group 1 boys back. and of course the order will continue on. So a lot of exciting races coming up, and yeah, everything will have to be seen, and you guys have to tune back in because it is absolutely going to be worth watching all of these guys go up against each other once again.
Totally. So same time tomorrow. Until then, take care, drive safe, and we will see you back tomorrow. See ya.
Bye bye.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me. Hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make me move. You can make me move. Can make me move. You can make me move. Can make me. So alive, make it last forever. Stop in time, yeah, I'm surrendering. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make me move.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. Some days I feel skinnier than all the other days. Sometimes I can't tell if my body belongs to me. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Content, hold your breath and feel the tension. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell. I wanna taste consumption, be faster to waste oxygen. Hear the children sing aloud. It's music till the wick burns out. Be carefree lately, yeah. Just kicking up daisies. Got one too many quarters in my pockets. Count 'em like the 4-leaf clovers in my locket. Untied laces, yeah. Just tripping on daydreams. Got dirty little lullabies playing on repeat. Might as well just ride around the nursery and count sheep.